Okay, everyone, I can't believe this. Ethan just told me. This is the 75th episode of the Solutions Podcast. I am just, I don't know, I'm floored by that. I'm very proud of myself for showing up here and just being a beginner and falling flat on my face for more episodes than I care to admit. And I'm so grateful that you have found this podcast and that you find it meaningful in your life and that you keep coming back to it and sharing it with your friends. I hope that we're here for 75 more episodes and 75 after that and 75 after that. So I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate this milestone with you. And also, I want to welcome you to today's podcast. It's a little continuation of the last podcast because I'm going to take some of the ideas that we talked about in the previous podcast, specifically with regard to capacity. And I'm going to just go a little deeper on that. So, the official working title is You Can't Do It All, Reclaiming Your Capacity, Your Courage, and Your Compassion. So, listen to the introduction. I'll meet you on the other side.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So, whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find solutions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Okay, now I saw this on Instagram a few weeks ago, and it was like a dagger to my heart when I say it really struck a chord. Like, OMG, I have been totally not just seen, but like seen through in a vulnerable way. But it said, don't confuse your capability with your capacity. I mean, I have to have a moment of silence there for the mic drop, because in that moment that I read that Instagram post, I thought, I think I've spent the last 58 years, or the years that I've been conscious of my last 58 years, confusing the two things, confusing or overlapping my capability and my capacity. You know, it is just a truth that we do not want to talk about or accept, but that is that we are limited. We are limited as human beings, and we live in a finite world. So you may be infinitely capable of doing a multitude of things, and still have a very finite capacity. So today we're going to practice like what it means to have the courage to do the things that you need to do to protect your capacity, which includes the courage to disappoint people. We're also going to talk about the art of saying no, and the compassion that we need in listening to ourselves and our bodies. So by the end of this episode, what I'm hoping you will take away is that you will know how to have a capacity check-in, and you will know or have a greater sense of your own personal boundaries and the lines that you don't want to cross, and that you are willing to disappoint people in order not to cross your own boundaries. And I'm also going to leave you with a journaling prompt that I hope will instantly lower your reactivity mode in situations that upset you. Okay, so let's talk about it. Capability versus capacity. Okay, the capability are your skill sets, your grit, your willpower, your talents. All of these things combined together to make up your capability, right? The capability you have, the first thing just pops into my mind. I have a large capability to have difficult conversations. I do. I'm really good at it. I'm a lawyer. I am trained to kind of stay cool, calm, and collected when I'm, other side is like attacking my arguments. And I'm also, I have a pretty good endurance level for that. And yet, I still have a finite capacity. And yet me showing up and having difficult conversations, when I'm having them day in and day out for extended periods of time, it really does wear me out, even though I'm really good at it and I kind of do it for a living. It really wears me out. I need to break from that. What is that? That's telling me that my capacity to have those hard conversations, that I'm reaching the capacity that I can hold for those things. And then I need to step back and rest and recover, to give myself some space to go do some fun things that this is not meant for me to do 24/7 just because I'm good at it. I need a break from hard conversations. So it could be this, you could be running, it could be mothering. I mean, let's talk about it. You could be one of the greatest mothers in the world, and yet your capacity to handle like the whining or the meeting other people's needs or all of the things, like there is an upper limit to that for you. You can't continue to sacrifice yourself and put everyone else's needs above yourself and ignoring your own needs. You can't keep doing it. Like there is a point where you're just going to be exhausted and burned out. And let's be honest, a little resentful, right? We need to start tuning into where am I crossing this line with regard to my own capacity. Now, I want to put this PSA out there because I don't want you to weaponize getting overextended and exhausted and tired and resentful. I don't want you to weaponize those states of being against yourself. I want to share something with you that I have really been observing over the last several years, and I've been reading a lot about it too because it's just a point of curiosity for me. But as women, I think one of the reasons we don't see this distinction between our capability and our capacity is because we've been taught for so many years to override the signals that our body gives us, the pain signals to be specific that our body gives us. And so because we've been taught from a very early age to override pain signals, then when we become grown women and we are doing all these jobs and things, we will override the pain signals that show up in midlife, which can be things like migraines, right? Exhaustion, lack of desire, things like that. And truly go back to when you first started having your period as a young woman and all the discomfort and pain that came with that. And yet you had to pretend like you weren't uncomfortable because you didn't want anybody to know what was going on with your body. It was such an embarrassing thing. At least we thought it was back then, right? And if you had back pain or cramps, like you just still had to sit in your classroom and go to class and go to lunch and put a smile on your face and just try to get through it as best you could. And no one really gave you the permission to say, hey, I need to slow down during this time. Like I need a little bit more rest because I just, our society just isn't organized in that way. Although it used to, the days of the red tent, it used to be. But, with technology and modern day conveniences that allow you to do more things during that time of month, then we tend to override these signals. So part of this work is going to feel foreign to you for a reason, but it's so necessary because, there's no better time than to begin to listen to your body and the signals that it's given you that are nudging you and encouraging you to rest and taking those signals as the permission that you've been waiting for from other people to allow you to rest and recover. This, I think, is a real big deal that we can do as women and that we can give to younger women saying, hey, don't just because, you're out there in the world and you're dealing with this pain, you can deal with it during the day, right? Or for a certain amount of time, but notice your capacity, where that capacity gets, to the point where you need to rest and recover and begin to build that into your day as well. That way, maybe this younger generation, when they get to midlife like we're in right now, they'll already have all of this stuff figured out. It won't nearly be as hard for them because they learned this lesson so much earlier in life. Okay, so this is the power move I'm going to leave you with. Redefining strength as honoring your capacity, not outrunning it, right? Redefining strength as listening to your body, not seeing it as, something to be overcome, right? Tuning into that body as your personal guidance center. Okay, now we're going to move to the next topic, this idea of courage and having the courage to disappoint other people and living through it. Okay, I'm going to tell you a secret. And if you are a listener to the Goop podcast, this may sound familiar to you. On some of their intros, Oprah is on their intro, and she says something to Gwyneth about, when you set boundaries, other people don't like it. So I always hear Oprah's voice in my brain when I start to think about when I start to set boundaries, other people are not going to like it. And then I'll put a ... at first. And then a ... hopefully I'll get to both of those things. But truly, the reason why people don't like it when you start to set a boundary is because it really disrupts their lives. They kind of like you not having boundaries. They like you being available for them all the time. They like the fact that you never say no and they don't have to go back and find other people to do a job when you know that it's not the right season for you. You make their life easier, but you're making their life easier at the expense of your life. Not all the time, but for this particular topic, if you find that you are making other people's lives easier and it is making your life harder, this is a place where you need to set a boundary. The fact that other people don't love it doesn't mean that you need to feel guilty about setting a boundary. A boundary really is in everyone's best interest because it recognizes your capacity. And when you can clearly communicate what your capacity is, right? My capacity to give toward this volunteer position, my capacity to help you on this project, my capacity to show up as a mother requires me to have some minutes of quiet. Maybe I need to go soak in the tub for a little bit and everybody else read their book or, maybe turn something on or ask a friend, a parent, a partner, a babysitter to spend some time with them, right? Like when you can recognize your capacity and you setting boundaries on your time and your availability with other people, then everybody is well served. You don't get exhausted. You don't become resentful of the things that you're doing. People clearly know when they can count on you, and they know when you don't have the time. Like, you're very clear. People like working with people with boundaries, but it does take them a little time to retrain them if you are new to the world of setting boundaries, especially when it comes with like new to expressing your capacity and when you're at your limits of being able to show up as, well rested, well fed, well socialized, well, all the things. So here are some scripts that I want to give you for saying no. That timing doesn't work for me. I'm a no. And I want you to have the support you need. Here are a couple of alternatives. I mean, that's only if you have them. I don't want you to feel like you have to go find alternatives for people. You could just say, and I want you to have the support you need, period. And then you're going to have to let people have their own feelings. We were talking about this in the Soulshine Lab. Some people are going to say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We've got it covered. I really appreciate you letting me know. Other people are going to say, what do you mean you can't do it? I'm so disappointed. Whether their feelings are feelings of support or whether their feelings are feeling of disappointment, for you, the job is the same. Let them have their feelings. Let them have their feelings and let you feel the strength of yourself and having your own back and knowing your own capacity. Okay. Now, this is the next topic I want to talk to you about. And this is back into about the idea of consequences. All right. A subtle blocker that I see that keeps people from saying no to something, especially if they've previously said yes to it, is that there'll be a negative consequence. Now, someone being disappointed, which we just mentioned, that is an example of a negative consequence. You have to witness their disappointment, right? You have to listen to them express their disappointment. That, to me, that's a negative consequence. Until you learn how to, let people have their own feelings. But there are other consequences, like truly, they might be mad, not just disappointed, but mad. And they might talk bad about you to their friends. And they may say, hey, I guess I just can't trust you. You're just not there for me. And they may hold on to that belief for days, weeks, months, years even. And so, I want to be realistic with you that when you say no to something, that there can be that consequence that some people are going to, try to punish you with. But I also want you to tune in to the consequence of you not listening to yourself and you not standing up for what you know is your own capacity. And those consequences are overwhelm, anxiety, burnout, depression, resentment. So, either way, if you don't say no or you do say no, there are consequences, but you have to decide, like, how much longer can I accept the negative consequences that not saying no has on my body? If I keep saying yes, right? What does that mean I have left of me? And so this is a reason why honoring your capacity becomes such an imperative. The older you get, the more people you're caring for, the more people you care for, the more capable you are. I mean, it's just the perfect recipe for disaster if you don't learn to listen to your body, if you don't learn this distinction between capability and capacity, and if you don't learn to set boundaries that protect your capacity. All right. Now, I'm going to share with you one more takeaway from today. I mean, I guess today's been one of those little, I don't know if I'd call it a hodgepodge, because I do think there is a thread. There is a thread within all of these topics, right? We're talking about what our capacity is and listening to that inner voice and honoring it. And then we're also talking about how it shows up when we get overextended and using that as a reason to set boundaries. And then this is something that I thought also ties into both of those things. And it's when, you receive one of those comments from someone else that you may feel like they're expressing their disappointment to you, or they say something like, well, I guess I can't trust you, or you're just never there for me. But, this could also be something they say to you in any way that just hurts your feelings or embarrasses you too. The same set of prompts that I want to share with you can be applied in all of those situations. So I'm going to use an example of my son is in a cool class in entrepreneurship at the College of Charleston, and it's taught by Ben Navarro, who's just fabulous. His daughter, Emma Navarro, is a professional tennis player. But he has the kids journal before class and after class every week. And in this particular journal prompt was to think of a problem. And so, a problem that you're having with another person. And I was sharing this today in the Soulshine Labs because it was like, okay, think of a problem. Think of some words that someone said to you that, in this context of you trying to set a boundary or saying no to a situation where you previously said yes, and they say, I'm so disappointed. I want you to think about the prompt of, this is not in the moment, but this is like afterwards, where you're trying to kind of work through this situation and support yourself and have your own back and encourage yourself to say no again in another season when you have to, even if someone uses these words. And so, the prompt is this. It's like, how could I see this differently? Like, this person is telling me they're disappointed in me, and that feels very personal to me because I don't like to disappoint people. But if that was a neutral statement, if I was a neutral third party observing the conversation and I'm not the person who said no, and I just heard this conversation, how might I interpret that? And then I want you to take a pen and write down your answer. Now, here's a suggestion as I'm just thinking of it from a neutral thing, because this isn't about getting the right answer, and it's definitely not about getting a wrong answer. It is just to start your brainstorming, right? It's just like trigger the part of your brain that's thinking about all the different possibilities that might be going on here that just feel a little more neutral. And so, like, if I'm just an observer on this situation, I'm like, oh, look at that person. They really are doing everyone a good service by acknowledging their limitations. I don't have time to do this anymore. And they're being so courageous and brave to communicate their limitations to someone else. And then if I hear that other person say, I'm so disappointed. I was relying on you. I can't believe you're backing out of this now. I am going to hear that through my neutral, the neutral part of my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person really is overwhelmed and they're in a very scarce place. And when you're in a scarce place, you say words like that. Can you hear how I am able to, by just using this one prompt, like how might I see this neutrally, or how might someone who is neutral third party just overhearing this conversation, how might they interpret it? I've put myself in a different POV, point of view, and I'm interpreting it less personally and more objectively. Okay, another prompt would be, how would a person who is my biggest fan reinterpret the situation when I get the courage to say no and the other person says, I'm disappointed, I was depending on you, I can't believe this. If I'm your biggest fan, I'm going to say, gosh, I know that took a lot of courage to say that. Like, I know that was really hard, especially because she's so disappointed. But I'm also going to say, don't forget, this was an important step for you. And she's well-resourced. She can figure it out, and it's okay. Sometimes we just have to disappoint people. Can you hear that? That's, instead of my inner critic, it's my inner caretaker talking about that. And you might also tap into the future version of you. Like, imagine the 80-year-old version of you. Oh, darling, that just happened. She's going to figure it out one day too. You know, so giving yourself at least 3 different perspectives to come back and look at that from will help you continue to just activate those courage muscles and tune into your capacity and stand up for yourself more and more. I hope that this was meaningful for you. And if you have a friend that you know is struggling with, saying no where she said yes before, struggling to set boundaries, terrified to disappoint other people, please forward this podcast episode to her. Tell her that you're thinking of her and that you thought that this might help boost her courage muscles. And also, if you want to boost your courage muscles and go deeper and really have someone who's sitting with you, like when this happens, we were talking about this in the Soulshine Lab. It's like, oh, when this happens, I wake up this morning and I have this phone call or this email and I know it's Tuesday or Friday. I know I can bring this to the Soulshine Labs, and Tara can help walk me through this, this methodology of seeing things from another perspective, of me understanding and appreciating my capacity and helping me set boundaries and reassuring me that this is what midlife is all about. All right, well, that's number 75. You stuck with me through it, and it's a big milestone, and I'm so glad to celebrate it with you. So until number 76, have a great day.
I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibility.